In Solo Leveling, after the strongest man in America, Thomas Andre had finally admitted that he had lost to Sung Drippy Woo. The battle was over without a single casualty, for the sole exception of the instigator, Hwang Dong-soo. Back in Korea, at the top of a building, Rizzy-Woo stated that he had used Shadow Exchange in order to swap locations with Baru, and asked the shadowy being next to him if it had been a while since he had been to Korea, saying that what he was looking at right at this moment was the city of Seoul. He stated that as they spoke, Baru was busy healing Jinwoo to the best of his abilities in America. "My king," the shadow soldier called out, making Papa Wu respond, asking, "What is it?" The general grade shadow soldier kneeled down in one knee, asking him to bestow a name upon him as well. Drippy Woo responded, asking how the name Greed sounded to him, since he had died being a greedy MF, and asked Hwang Dong-soo what he thought about it and if he liked it. "Thank you, my king," Greed responded, making Drippy Woo order him to put his head back on the ground as punishment for the crimes he had committed when he was alive. The next day at the International Guild Conference, Sung Diddy Woo had finally arrived and questioned why there were so many reporters around today. The deputy director of the Hunter Bureau responded, saying that it seemed like the reporters were already well aware of the fight that occurred between him and Thomas Andre, and that it would be difficult for him to escape the attention. He stated that they had already secured a testimony from Hwang Dong-soo's party, saying that the Hunter Bureau would ensure that the truth behind the incident comes to light. Drippy Woo thought to himself, saying that he didn't want to think about Dong-soo anymore, since there was just one reason he had came to America, and as soon as his questions are answered, he would have no business being here anymore. The deputy handed over a pair of wireless earbuds without even the case to Drippy Woo, saying he would be translating the contents of the presentation to him with them. The Riz King finally arrived inside the building where the meeting, which contained the top-ranking hunters from every single country in the world, was being held. Feeling Drippy Woo's immaculate aura, the hunters turned to look at the man who defeated Thomas Andre, with Liu Zhigang smiling at the sight of Rizzy-Woo wearing one of his toughest fits yet. The top-ranking hunters couldn't help but whisper among themselves, asking if he was really the Asian hunter who one-sidedly beat the absolute shit out of Thomas Andre until he was almost dead, saying it was hard to believe. Drippy Woo took his seat among the representatives of their respective countries, marking the beginning of the International Conference of Guilds. An Einstein-looking MF stood before the podium, introducing himself as Dr. Belzer. He said that he's sure that they're well aware that the appearances of Gates has shot up quite a bit recently, and that stronger monsters have begun to appear. But what they don't know is that unusual activity has been detected above the skies, stating that it had been widely reported that the magical energy concentration that is being absorbed into the atmosphere is becoming increasingly greater, saying that they would refer to this phenomenon as the Magis-phere until they find a more appropriate term to call it. The doctor demonstrated a map showing several red dots, stating that the Magis-phere was currently gathering above the skies of several countries, saying that they've observed this phenomenon in a total of 9 places, with the place where the Magis-phere concentration is the greatest being Seoul, South Korea. The hunters, shocked by this revelation, couldn't help but nervously turn their gaze towards Drippy Woo, until the doctor stated that there was no need to look at Papa Wu like that, since if it was indeed him who was the cause of the Magis-phere above the sky, then he'd be already past the realm of a hunter. Rizzy-Woo questioned if the 9 places he was talking about could be related to the number of monarchs. Dr. Belzer stated that since they didn't know the cause, there was nothing they could do to deal with it at this moment. But just because they can't do anything about it, doesn't mean they don't have to deal with it, since this could bring the world great change once more. The director of the Hunter Bureau takes over the presentation, saying he had something urgent to announce to the hunters that are currently present here today. He stated that he would be delivering this news with a heavy heart, announcing that around 2 weeks ago, the national-level hunter Christopher Reed had been assassinated by a group of unidentified assailants. The hunters in the audience couldn't believe their ears, questioning if this was a joke or not, since the only one who could kill a national-level hunter would be someone of equal strength. The hunters quickly turned to look towards Papa Wu, questioning if he was the culprit, since he was also the one who beat the great Thomas Andre. The director went on to explain that the news of Christopher Reed's passing would be officially released the next day, and asked them to listen carefully without misunderstanding. He stated that there was a man who they suspected to be the perpetrator of this crime, which made Drippy Woo look dead serious, knowing what's coming next. The director explained to the hunters that the person they see before them is referred to as Suspect S. This revelation shocked the hunters, since they really thought the culprit was indeed Sung Drip Woo, but they still thought that the Asian man's face still looked strangely familiar to them. That is, until they suddenly felt Drippy Woo's terrifying aura, making them quickly think that they must not turn around at all costs, nervously trying to convince themselves that they only just look alike, since all Asians look similar to them anyways. Sung Drip Woo gritted his teeth, questioning just why his father, saying that he didn't know why the rulers had sent down a monster in the form of his dad, but it might have something to do with Kamish's warning. The director went on to explain that the man found in a gate in the US was classified as a monster who was capable of speaking the human language. But when they requested the aid of Hunter Hwang Dong-soo, who spoke Korean, to lead the interrogation, it had easily taken him down in the middle of it, which brought the Hunter Association's headquarters down in a sea of flames. The director went on to say that the culprit was powerful enough to defeat Hwang Dong-soo, who was acting as a member of the Scavenger Guild's main force, stating that strong humanoid monsters like him, who had escaped dungeons, may have targeted Christopher Reed, this being the conclusion the Hunter Bureau has come up to. Drippy Woo suddenly noticed something in the recording of the one-sided battle between the monster and Hwang Dong-soo, saying it was talking to him. The humanoid creature spoke in Korean, warning Dong-soo to never step foot in Korea again, telling him that he wasn't saying this to help his son, but to help him instead, because if he doesn't do as he's told, then he wouldn't be able to rest even after death. The words "won't be able to rest even after death" remained on Drippy Woo's mind, making him call for greed. He responded saying it was just as his liege suspected, stating that there was no doubt in his mind that that man was truly his father. The director of the Hunter Bureau stated that they would be requesting aid from every single guild around the world in order to catch him, asking them to contact the Bureau immediately upon discovering his whereabouts. A hunter in attendance asked the director if there was any proof that Suspect S was truly not a human being. He responded saying that his emission of magic completely matched that of a monster. Another hunter asked that if the monster who claimed to be a human that went missing in a dungeon was a hunter that had actually existed before. The director responded saying he was indeed a real person. The hunter questioned that if that was really the case, then why wouldn't he just reveal the hunter's identity? The director responded saying that he was connected to one of the hunters present here today, so they've decided to not reveal that information, and asked if anyone else had any further questions. A man suddenly raised his hand, asking if it really wouldn't be more helpful to just reveal his identity in the pursuit of his arrest, making the attendants turn their heads to see that it was China's 7-star hunter Liu Zhigang who was asking the question. Liu Zhigang stated that he would be direct about this, and asked what was the relationship between the monster and Sung Drip Woo. Since it was such an important individual asking the question, the director had no choice but to reveal that during questioning, Suspect S had revealed himself to be Sung Drippy Woo's father, and that they were carrying out this investigation, assuming that is true. The hunters quickly start whispering among themselves in the light of this revelation. Liu Zhigang suddenly asked Drippy Woo what he would do in the situation that this monster turned out to be his missing father, and other hunters attempt to hunt him down. Drizzy Woo responded saying that it was only right that hunters hunt down monsters, and if he's indeed a monster, then he would take care of him himself. But if it turned out that he is not a monster and truly his father, then he would simply hunt down the hunters, saying that he would protect his family even if it meant that he would make an enemy out of every single hunter in the world. Adam White asked if he meant what he had said back there. He confirmed it, making Adam White state that to say such a thing in front of 500 of the strongest hunters in the world was absolutely insane, saying that there are only 2 hunters, including him, that would even dare to make such a proclamation. Drippy Woo questioned who the other person was, making Adam White respond, saying that unfortunately, he was currently in the hospital at this moment. Adam asked him if he would like to dine with the other hunters, since the Bureau had put a lot of effort into the feast. But before Drippy Woo could give his answer, Liu Zhigang arrived to greet him. Onlookers could only watch, nervously questioning if two of the most powerful hunters in the world would duke it out right here. Liu Zhigang started speaking to him in Chinese, making Drippy Woo question what the hell he was yapping about. Adam translated that he said he had caught the giant he let slip away on the coast of China. Surprised by the fact he could also speak Chinese, Adam White said that he was in charge of the Asian branch after all, meaning he could speak all Asian languages fairly well. Drippy Woo asked him to keep on translating, which Adam White translated that Liu Zhigang said that he was surprised to find that the giant monster was stronger than he expected, and that it was even more difficult since the battle took place on water, and because of that he said that he's been wanting to meet him ever since, saying that he's been curious to see what kind of hunter could take down such powerful monsters so easily. Reaching out for a handshake, he went on to say that he was happy he had put Thomas Andre in his place and has no doubt that Andre was in the wrong. Drippy Woo thought to himself, saying that the first impression he got off him was that he was just a grumpy MF, but it turned out he was rather an interesting person. But as they shook hands, Liu Zhigang said something that surprised Adam White, explaining that Liu Zhigang had said that for the reason that he's that strong, he's hoping that Suspect S isn't a member of his family. Adam White translated that Liu Zhigang said that he never wants to fight him, so he didn't think he had any ill intent towards him. The director of the Hunter Bureau approached Drippy Woo, asking if he could spare some time with them. Ms. Selner sat across Drippy Woo, saying that it had been a while since they had met, making him question what the upgrader Norma Selner wanted from him this time. Rizzy Woo said that he would have never thought she'd come to see him again after what had occurred in their last meeting. Lady Selner went straight to the point, stating that she kept having the same dream every night, dreams of some of the top hunters in the world being hunted down by someone, and a few days later, those dreams had become a reality. Drippy Woo asked if that meant Christopher Reed was one of them as well. The director responded saying that they had warned him, but his dumb didn't listen, and he should know how that turned out. Lady Selner went on to say that the powerful hunters who had been supporting their world will continue to die, and those hunting these hunters will not stop. Drippy Woo asked her if she was here to warn him of his death as well, but Lady Selner responded saying that that wasn't the case and was instead here to ask him to protect these hunters. Ms. Selner went on to say that she had been trying to remember the faces of those who got hunted down in her dreams, but it was to no avail, so she's been trying to use another method, confirming their identities with her ability within the hunter's dreams. Drippy Woo asked if that meant when she looked into his eyes she had seen something. She responded saying that endless power lied within him, and once she came in contact with it, she was forced to wake up from her sleep. Miss Selner suddenly started trembling, remembering the voice she had heard from it when they had locked eyes. Drippy Woo asked what it had told her. She responded saying it told her to go back and prepare for war. He thought to himself, saying that this was most likely the war between the rulers and monarchs that the King of Giants had spoke of, making Drippy Woo question which side the ones killing the hunters are on. But Drizzy Woo asked what that had to do with her asking him to protect the hunters. She responded explaining that she had detected a similar power within him, making him question that if she felt the same power of the Shadow Monarch within her dreams, then it must mean the ones hunting the hunters are the 9 monarchs. The director of the Hunter Bureau stated that they were in existence beyond hunters, therefore they require the help from his immense power to deal with such a threat. Though they didn't expect him to help them without any compensation, saying that they would offer him anything he'd want, even the greatest treasure that the Calamity Dragon Kamish left behind, the Rune Stone. He went on to say that there were hunters in this world who had received powerful blessings which they have supported the world with, but if they were to disappear, this world wouldn't be able to last. "I'm sorry," Drippy Woo responded, making Mr. Brennan ask if he was refusing because of a grudge he may have towards Thomas Andre. He responded saying that that wasn't the case, but it's because he still doesn't know who he needs to be fighting against yet, standing up from his chair and taking his leave, which made Adam White nervously remember the moment where Drippy Woo stated that he would protect his family, even if that meant going against the entire world. But then Rizzy Woo stopped in his tracks, taking in a deep sigh, asking Adam White if he could give him the list of the hunters they wanted him to protect, and he would appreciate it if they could provide him an opportunity to meet said hunters as well, making Adam smile, saying, "Of course." At the last day of the International Guild Conference hosted by the American Hunter Bureau called the Night of Hunters, Drippy Woo asked Jinho how he was feeling after getting his shit kicked in by Hwang Dong-soo. He responded saying he felt good as new and started tearing up when he heard he had fought against Thomas Andre the Goliath for his sake. The other hunters at the party couldn't help but stare towards Drippy Woo, shocked by the fact that he was right in front of them, yet couldn't even feel his presence at all, saying he was truly on a completely different level than them, and asked if the person next to him was the hunter he had fought Thomas Andre to save. A man suddenly came up to Drippy Woo saying it was truly an honor to meet him, and introduces himself as the CEO of a global corporation which specializes in dealing with monster remains, saying that he would like to buy the corpses of the giant monsters he had hunted down in Japan. Drippy Woo responded saying that he was only in charge of raids and that it was his vice master Jinho who was in charge of business-related matters. Seeing how Jinho handled business talks with the CEO made Drippy Woo smile, saying he finally seemed like a proper vice master. Adam White came out of nowhere handing Rizzy Woo an iPad, saying it contained the list of hunters he requested and that they've ranked them by points assigned to them through their contribution and activity. He went on to say that if he were to accept their proposition, he would most likely be asked to protect these people. Drippy Woo asked Adam where he would be ranking on the list. He responded saying if they took into account the giant monsters he took down, it would probably be third or fourth, with the current ranking being Thomas Andre in first place, Liu Zhigang in second, Christopher Reed in third, and Siddharth Bachchan in fourth. Rizzy Woo thought to himself that it would be a drag if he were to try to remember all of the names on the list, saying this was really the perfect environment to just put shadow soldiers on all of them. This way, he would be able to make contact with the rulers through the hunters, and he would finally be able to tell who's friend or foe and who he needs to be fighting against. But then a hunter suddenly approached Drippy Woo, making both Adam White and Jincho look nervous, though he assured them that they didn't have to worry about that happening again. Thomas Andre called Drippy Woo's name, asking if he would allow him to ask one thing. He went on to say that because of the damage his arm had taken was too great, the healer's healing magic wouldn't work. The doctor had also told him the same thing, saying that even though it's slowly recovering, it's still far away from a complete recovery. He then said that if it were him, he could have easily single-handedly wiped out his entire guild after beating the shit out of him. But even after the entire commotion, not a single one of his guild members had died, excluding Hwang Dong-soo, who was the cause of it all. Then Thomas Andre sincerely asked him why he had let them live back then. Drippy Woo responded saying it was because he hadn't committed a sin deserving of death. "I see," Andre said while turning around, saying that he planned on having a great funeral for Dong-soo, even though he knows he committed a sin that deserves death, and pleads that he lets him have a funeral at least. Andre went on to say that after his arm healed, he would like to have a meal with him, saying that if he gives his secretary his contact information, he would contact him later. Secretary Laura suddenly bowed her head, explaining that her master just showed his gratitude towards him for not harming his guild members, telling him that no matter how he looks, he was actually a pretty shy person, and asked Drippy Woo to excuse her rudeness, asking if he could give her his contact info since her master wanted to give him a gift of gratitude, but Drippy Woo declined it, saying he didn't need it. Laura insisted that her master was very competitive and becomes uneasy when he feels he owes someone a favor, saying that anything would do. Drippy Woo thought really hard about this gift of gratitude, saying that a useful dagger would be nice. Laura responded, saying she understood and appreciated his understanding, taking her leave. Adam then asked if they should go and meet the hunters on the list, but Drippy Woo responded saying there wasn't a need to do so, and asked him if there was a person missing since he didn't see Hunter ranked number 6 anywhere, making Adam question how he knew that. He responded saying that they had lost contact with him a couple days before the conference, and that the secret agency and the Brazilian government have yet to find his whereabouts, making Drippy Woo question if he was already unalive, meaning that only 7 hunters were left.